Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to another podcast episode. And I am super excited for my guest today. So, this sister right here, she is not only an amazing yoga instructor, owner of Balance Yoga Atlanta. Yes, she is in the A with me, but she is a longtime friend and a mentor. She is my very own yoga instructor. And let me tell you, y'all, I'm going to tell you a secret. I've been trying to get her on this podcast for years, years. So, yes, I just outed you. But I just want to welcome to the show, Marsha. Marsha!
Thank you. Thank you. I know it has been too long. You've asked me for literally years. And then finally the other day, I was like, she keeps asking me, how could I say no to my dear friend? I just need to get over my fear of the recording. Just have a conversation. So I'm
It's
so thankful that you wanted to have me on and you kept nudging and nudging, gently nudging. And then I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. So thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And you know, this is going to be the first of many because once you have this conversation in this very like fireside way, you're going to get hooked. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to get hooked.
Hey, I'm so excited and honored. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So I like for the audience to kind of get to know my guest. So I would just love for you to share your background and how you got into yoga. Like what's it been like for you, like being a yoga instructor and really embodying the craft as you have.
Okay, so I started doing yoga in 2001 after I graduated from school from Georgia State University with a degree in exercise science. I had been on the track to be a nurse, and I quickly realized when I got into my clinicals that it was not the path for me. I always wanted to serve, but being in the hospital setting was really hard for me and really sad. And I was like crying a lot. And so I thought, what could I do? And I went, prevention. I can still serve, but if I do it from prevention, then I can get people before they get sick. So then I was like, okay, what could I do? And my sister got into yoga very briefly, actually, and she was telling me how much she liked her yoga classes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna teach yoga. I'd never
Mhm.
done yoga before, but I decided I'm gonna teach yoga. And I took my first class and I was hooked right away. And luckily it was an Ashtanga class. I didn't know what Ashtanga was, but I just got
Mhm.
lucky and fell into it.
Mhm.
And it was like the perfect combination of exercise
Mhm.
and mindfulness, and it
Mhm.
just it just really made sense to me. So I
Yeah.
started that 2001, and then I did my teacher training pretty quickly. I did it in 2002, graduated in 2003,
Mhm.
and started teaching April 2003, became a studio owner 2004, and I just keep learning, I keep
Yeah.
practicing and going through the different stages of life and motherhood and aging and all of that. And I am so grateful for my yoga practice because it's very grounding
Mhm.
and it grows with you.
It really does. It really does. It's very interesting. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I love doing podcasts is I learned things about people that I didn't know. Like we've been knowing each other for I don't know 17 years now. I never knew you were going to be a nurse. I never
Oh,
knew
you
that.
didn't know that?
No, I never knew the history about like you being on track to be a nurse and then going into your clinicals and then like deciding on a different path. Like I knew that you had graduated with an exercise science degree. Like I knew that part, but I didn't really know the other part. So love,
Oh,
love, love like these podcasts because you just get to know people in ways that, and it wouldn't have come up, right? So that's so interesting. I love, and so by the way, for the audience, you don't know, like you heard me just say it. I've known Marsha for the better of 17, I think it's going on 18 years now. I'm one of the OG yoga students.
Core four. I call you one of my core four. There's four of you from way back when that still, no matter what's going on, babies, injuries, traveling, speaking
Pandemic.
engagements, you always come back. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you and my other three of the core four so much because you guys just like ground me and ground my practice.
Thank you. Well,
So,
it speaks to who you are too for us, right? And one of the things that you said was like how, the yoga has grown with your like as you've developed through many phases of life, like through motherhood. I remember all of this, right? Like through motherhood, through for me, marriage and divorce, through through so many through babies, through injury, through everything, right? And I think part of that is because for me, and I know for you, like it's more than like being on the mat. It's more than what people see as the asana. And I would love actually just to backtrack because the style that we practice that is Ashtanga, and people may not exactly know like, oh, what does that mean? Ashtanga, what is that? So I would love for you to just sort of like give a little bit of background on the styles and Ashtanga and like, what that is.
okay. So let me first say what yoga in general is from the Yoga Sutras
Yeah.
of Patanjali. It's this ancient book with 198 statements about yoga. And I think only like a handful of them are actually about like poses because
Mhm.
yoga is about state of mind. So
Mhm.
yoga is about quieting the mind or focusing the mind.
Mhm.
And so often when people think about yoga, they think about postures, they think
Mhm.
about back bends and stuff like that. But really, the
Mhm.
aim of yoga is to learn how to focus your mind.
Mhm.
And it seems like now more than ever, we are distracted and our mental health suffers. And so
Mhm.
people need a practice to help them with their mind. And so the
Mhm.
thing I like so much about Ashtanga yoga is one, it's vigorous. It doesn't have to be. Some people,
Mhm.
they might not want something quite so like jumpy and twisty and bindy. The Ashtangas can still be your practice. You can just modify it and do it a little bit less vigorously. But the thing I like about, yeah, well,
I modify a lot, y'all.
well, it's all relative, isn't it? Because some
Yeah.
people look at you and think, "Oh my gosh, look at what she's doing."
True
So
that.
it's all relative. But the beautiful thing about Ashtanga is it's a set sequence of postures. So you don't
Mhm.
have to think about what's coming next. I mean, at the beginning you do because you don't know what you're doing. But once you have like a small amount memorized, you
Mhm.
show up and you can do that and breathe and try to concentrate your mind and focus your mind.
Mhm.
Once you have it down, doesn't have to be perfect, then we just add on a little more to your sequence. So
Yeah.
some people might start with just 15 minutes and then
Mhm.
30 minutes. And then we've got some people doing 2 hours, but it's physical. You're using your physical body to focus your mind. So it's like you know, you get two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Ashtanga.
I that's why I ended up choosing the style Ashtanga because it was a set sequence of asanas. I had done so much research before. I mean, I started with Rodney Yee for those,
Old
back in the
school.
day, good old Rodney Yee and Yoga Journal and in my living room in residency in Florida. And so I was looking for something and I had done, different, there's Kriya style and then there's, you know, different vinyasa styles and what used to be called, what is the hot yoga,
Bikram.
Bikram, which used to be called Bikram.
Oh
Like
yeah,
all of it, right? And so but what I loved about exactly what you said, what I loved about Ashtanga was the when I discovered, okay, there's a set series of practice. Because for me, yoga was not about the physical; it was really about the focus of the mind. So it's like, oh, I don't have to think about it. I can focus on the breath. I can focus on like the meditation, it's like a movement meditation, in a
Mhm.
sense. And that's what I loved about it as well. So I appreciate you bringing that and also really talking about how yoga is the focusing of the mind. And I think why one of the reasons that people associate um yoga with postures, and I'm gonna get a little deep for a minute and then I'm gonna come back, is, it's colonization.
Mm.
It's that's when yoga, when things, anything becomes colonized outside of its culture or appropriated outside of its culture, then it can lose that original meaning. So I appreciate you bringing that back into the space.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad that I could mention that because I mean, all the time I tell people, they're like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a yoga teacher." And I'm like, I know they don't know what that means. They don't know. They're
Right.
thinking postures. Or I'll say, I do have class from 6 to 9 o'clock in the morning. And they'll go, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, you must be so tired." And I'm like, "No, I don't have to do it. I'm there facilitating."
Right.
And to get them to understand, like, yeah, we are moving the body, but it's a meditation. It's like,
Mhm.
unfortunately, people don't even think about yoga in that way. They think of it only physical. And like I said, we need the mental aspect more
Mhm.
than ever. So I really want more people to learn about this style. And, there's other kinds. There's the vinyasa that's very popular,
Mhm.
which I don't want to knock it or anything like that, but there's a different sequence every time. The
Mhm.
music is very loud and someone's talking to you constantly. And on one level, that can be really helpful for some people because sometimes when you're getting really quiet by yourself on the mat, it can be really intimidating. And it's like, I need music, I need some sort of distraction. So sometimes at the beginning, that is helpful for some people, but
Mhm.
usually going forward, the quiet aspect of the Ashtanga practice is really effective.
One of the things that I notice for myself when I practice, and it's one of the things that's really like kept me on the mat, is that, and I think, and I probably have shared this with you many times over the years, is that for me, what I notice that I have to work on in practice are the things that I also have to work on in my life.
Mm,
Right. And so, when I come to challenging asanas, when I come to challenging postures, and I'm noticing what's happening with my mind, whether it's fear, whether it's trying to control everything, whether it's not breathing, whether it's, whatever it is, I can arguably, like, discover something in my life where I'm doing the same thing, whether I'm trying to control, or whether there's a lot of fear, whether I'm like talking myself into or out of something. And so it's something that I began to notice unconsciously, at first. Like I would notice in my life, like I was resisting something, and then I'd come to the practice and I'd be resisting doing a posture, or resisting during a posture, and you'd say, um, let go of the resistance, or whatever that is,
mhm,
and it would click, like, oh, let go of the resistance, or what is the resistance to doing this or not doing this. The other thing was like, I'm a type, I'm not going to say that. I'm conditioned, I was gonna say type A.
yeah,
I
yeah, I
was
do.
I'm conditioned by the industry to push, 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 and push through,
Mhm,
and I've had a lot of injuries over the years because of pushing through from, just my practice. And so what I part of the discipline for me, and that's gonna take me into, these samanis that you blew my mind with the other day, um, was pulling back, like the discipline to actually pause, the discipline to actually pull back, and to hold, and to breathe. And it's just as challenging for people to do that than it is to push through, especially when
mhm,
you're conditioned to do that. So I just wanted to share that, because this mapping, what a lot of people don't really get or understand about the practice of yoga. And Marcia, you teach more, classes you teach the breathing, you teach I think you now, I don't know if you still have it or not, but the class with the sutras,
mhm.
and so you teach like I love that you teach that expansiveness around yoga. But I would really love for people to really get that how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you can begin to intentionally do things on the mat or on the proverbial mat, we'll say,
Mhm.
then it will expand out into life.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And often tell people, like, just slow down,
Mhm,
slow down, because we just
mhm,
want to get through, just put our head down and get it done and check it off the list and keep going. It's like,
mhm,
no, slow down, stay with the
mhm,
breath, feel. That's the one thing that
mhm.
I think I was telling you the other day, that quote, I don't remember it fully, but something like, we know so much, but we feel so little. And like,
Yes.
that's what the mat is trying to help us
Mhm,
do. It's like,
mhm.
feel first. Can you feel your fingertips? Can you feel
Right.
your inhale? Can you feel that you're rushing? Can you feel that
Yes.
you're being competitive with the person next to you? Can
Yes.
you feel that now you're feeling all like this, or you're feeling like that? It's like,
Yeah.
just feel. And like, I tell people all the time, like, if you feel competitive, don't feel bad. You don't have to feel bad about it, because we're
Mhm,
human. But when you
mhm,
recognize, like, oh, I'm being really competitive, or I'm being like this,
mhm.
interesting. Am I off this, like this, off the mat? And it helps you
Yeah.
kind of like reflect and see where you might be wasting energy.
Mm.
So feeling, we have to feel. And that's why I also like the set sequence, because like,
Mm,
it's coming for the most part. You do the same thing
mhm,
every time, even though it feels different every time, but it gives you the
mhm.
opportunity where you can go a little deeper into your perception and into feeling.
Yes, I love that. Girl, you dropping gems,
You
like
you too. I mean, the whole type A sort of tendency. I mean,
Yeah.
the Ashtanga practice, although I am not type A, I very much use the practice to like get myself off the couch. Like, my tendency is like very like Coptic, like
Mhm,
grounded and
mhm,
slow, and I can just stay put. And so the practice really balances me out, because it makes me move, makes me keep going,
mm,
breathe.
mhm,
But most people are like you, that come to the mat, where they are like, doing things and like
mhm,
kind of goal oriented. And the practice helps you really take a look at that and go, okay, is this serving me? Sometimes yes. And
mhm.
sometimes like maybe not.
Right, right.
So,
And the thing people don't know about Ashtanga is that there are multiple series, and
yes.
so you were talking about being competitive. It's like you go in, especially with when you go to the types of classes that I participate in. For those of you who are listening, are called Mysore, and it's a type of class where everyone practices the series at their pace, and they practice as much of the series as they know or as they can or as they want to in that particular frame of time. And so you come in and someone's doing like second series and third series, and you're like doing the first series or the primary series. And initially, if you're of like sort of new to it in the mind, it does feel like, oh, I need to get there. I need to get there. And you're always trying to get there because the world tells you got to have a goal. You got to get somewhere. You got to go.
Hmm.
And then one day you just sort of like, you know, sort of like drop into, oh, I don't have to get there. And like coming to the mat for me every day is a reminder that, oh, I don't have to get anywhere. I
Yes.
can just be on the mat and practice whatever I can practice that day that
Yeah.
feels. And girl, we got a whole podcast that we're going to do on feeling because I love that quote. We know so much, but we feel so little. Like that's gonna be the title of the next podcast we do together because I really want to talk about that in regards to trauma. Because girl, we got a
Yeah.
whole conversation about that for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things, I mean, not to, I know you're wanting to go this way with that, but like, so often what I'm trying to help people do is just be present, be present, be present.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
present, that helps to sort so many things out. We're in the past,
Mhm.
we're in the future, we're
Mhm.
worried, we're hung up.
Mhm.
It's like, if you can
Mhm.
just like feel your hands, if you can take a breath, you're
Mhm.
starting to put yourself on this whole fresh, new connected pathway. It's hard,
Yeah.
but I saw this thing the other day that said 0 to 100 is the hardest part. 100 to 1,000 is much easier. Isn't that
Ooh.
interesting? So it's like that
It is
first part, it
interesting.
seems really hard. Like, oh my gosh, to think in this way, to be present, to be disciplined, to be,
Right.
da da da, all the things. Like, yeah, when you're getting to 0 to 100, it's a lot. But then once it starts stacking, You can get to
Yes.
1,000 much faster.
Yes, and we don't even realize it. Yeah, and this is the sort of like the basis of this consciousness, right? Like being conscious, being aware of ourselves, of our interactions with others. Like this is the training of the brain, the training of the nervous system. And y'all know, if y'all listen to me, I love talking about the brain and the nervous system. And so I was on the mat the other day. Now, at the time of this recording, this is maybe a couple of weeks ago, so it would have been a few weeks by the time the release of this episode. But I was on the mat the other day, and I don't even remember how it came up, but he quoted to me these sutras, this sutra, and it was like mind blowing, right? And so I'd love for you to share that. And let's talk about that for a minute because I feel like, these five things, the context for which you spoke them was me on the mat doing a particular like series, a posture, I think. I can't even remember which one, but doing a particular posture. But when you said them, I just saw my whole life.
Flash before you. No.
Right. It's like, so can you share what you shared with me that day?
Okay, sure. Of course, I gotta do the chant. It's Shraddha Vidya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Iteresham. And what that means, I love doing the chanting. I just started like learning the chants again. And it puts you in this state of mind, especially when you're doing
Mhm.
Sanskrit, because you can't think about anything else because this is a foreign language.
Yes.
But anyway, so I've been learning the chanting and trying to understand like the wisdom behind each of the sutras. And so we are
Mhm.
working on this sutra. This is
Yes.
120, first
Mhm.
chapter, 20th sutra. And what
Mhm.
it means is in order to achieve the goal in yoga, which is like, samadhi or
Mhm.
connection, absorption, you have to have five things. And the first one is you have to have faith. And so if
Mhm.
you don't believe you can do something, if I don't believe I can create a yoga mind, if I don't believe I can create a profitable business, if I don't feel like I can
Mhm.
create a good, healthy relationship, then I'm not going
Mhm.
to do the second thing, which is
Mhm.
vigor, which is
Yes.
work. And
Yes.
so I think I was asking you, like, do you have to first believe you can do this, which I think you did
Yes.
believe it, but I just wanted to make it really clear. Keep believing that you can do this crazy posture you're about to be doing. Maybe it was kapotasana, like bending backwards
Could
or
have been
something.
couple, or it could have been pincha. Could have
It
been
could have
pincha,
been
pincha
pincha.
mayurasana.
Yes. Your
The
asana.
forearm balance, y'all. It's the forearm balance.
Yes. So I said you have to make sure you have faith. And then
Mhm.
if you believe that you can do something, then you actually put the work in. If you're
Mhm.
like, I might be able to do, I might be able to have a good business, I might
Mhm.
be able to have a good relationship, it's probably not ever going to happen for me, then you're not going to do the work. Which I
Yes.
love that because whenever you do the sutras, you always list from the most important thing down.
Mhm.
So you have to
Mhm.
have faith. So you have to have
Yes.
faith, and then you have to do the work. And
Mhm.
then you have to remember, Smriti is memory. You have to
Yes.
remember what you were doing in the first place, because it's so
Right.
easy to just slide into your like normal daily habits, your normal daily thought patterns and
Mhm.
ways of being. So you have to be like,
Mhm.
oh, no, 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 I'm trying to do this thing. I'm
Yeah.
remembering, I'm working, I believe in myself. You have
Mhm.
to be absorbed. You have to stay
Mhm.
focused. And then
Yep.
you have to be discerning. Listen to your intuition. Ask yourself those good questions.
Yes. And so what's interesting about that for me is like, first of all, the faith, and faith is like this space of knowing without seeing, right?
Yeah.
Knowing without seeing. And oftentimes we are in this space, in this culture where we have to see in order to know that it's there. It's like evidence, 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 evidence. But there are some times in life where we are building the evidence as we go along. And we
Mhm.
have to believe that we can build that evidence for whatever it is, where we're creating a culture in our organization, where you starting your business, where you can do a particular posture or asana, or you could, you're being a good parent, and that your kid is listening and absorbing what you're saying, you have to have faith that that's happening so that you
Mhm.
continue to do the work,
Mhm.
right? The work. I love the word vigor. And then I also love the word that's adjacent to that, rigor, because there's sometimes just like kind of this lackadaisical putting in the work, but you really have to be intentional. Like that's what I hear with vigor and rigor is like be intentionally and consistent with putting in the work because you do something every now and then, you're not going to get the result that you want, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I love the remember struck me particularly because yeah, it's not something we often think about that we have to do, but it's like it totally makes sense. Like, oh yeah, like I have faith, I have this goal, right? I have this goal, big goal in life, this vision. And and I have to have faith that I can achieve it and I have to put the work in. But then there's like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel,
Yes.
shiny object,
Yep.
squirrel, right? And then we get off track. And so we have to like remember and then get absorbed in what we're
Mhm.
doing. That absorption. I love that absorption, that like deep focus. It's almost like when a runner is running and they get into that runner's high, they get into the zone. To get into
Yeah.
the zone, you gotta allow yourself to get into your zone, right? And
Yeah.
then I love the discernment, like that piece. I think that was like the other one that hit me in the heart, because I think that's probably the piece that many people struggle with is discerning whether each opportunity or each moment is the right moment, or am I doing it, or is this in on the map for me, it's like, is it injury pain, or is it just discomfort that I can breathe through?
Mhm.
Like just the nuance of that is so subtle. When in the work that we do in anti-oppression, where the conversations that come up are uncomfortable, is it just not just, but is it discomfort or is harm being done?
Mhm.
And distinguishing like the nuance of that, right? What am I feeling? How I need to discern if I walk into the room and I'm not maybe not feeling my best. I need to discern how I'm going to engage in a way that takes care of me and also is of service to others. And it's
Mhm.
a lot of what you've given me over the years as a mentor on the mat, like that discernment of, is it discomfort or is it injurious?
Mhm.
You know, my emotions, the moment, like, should I push through them or should I allow myself to just, stop and feel what I'm feeling? There are many times where I've cried on the mat, and I would give myself permission to do that if you hadn't created such a safe space. And if I hadn't learned the discernment of my body is telling me something and I need to honor that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And sometimes you don't know, and that's the one of the hard parts is, like, we like to know. We like to have, like,
Mhm,
concrete,
mhm,
evidence or answers. We wanna
mhm,
be in control, and sometimes
mhm,
people look to me like, "Is this good or is this bad?" I'm like, "We shall see." I don't
mhm,
know. And, that is that's hard for everybody to not
mhm,
know, but, that's
mhm.
life. Like
Yeah,
last night, my
absolutely.
five-year-old goes, "Mom, when are you gonna die?" I was like,
Wow.
I know it was wild. I was like, "Well, nobody really knows." And,
Yeah.
it's we don't know, we don't have all the answers on the mat,
Mhm,
and, but the best that we can do is be intentional. We put the work in, we be as compassionate as
mhm.
possible, and it all typically works out.
Yeah, and, it's interesting coming back to even the feeling part, it's like, um, it's that, uh, there's when you do the physical practice, it helps to bring you back into your body so you can have that listening. So if someone's like, "Is this good or is it not?" Then it's like, "Well, does it feel good or does it not?" right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the it I believe that the practice, on all levels connects us to our intuition and to our deeper selves, like to our ability to listen to ourselves. And that is what is really, I feel like, the mechanism of it being so grounding, is because you're basically reconnecting into the self that oftentimes we disconnect from, due to all of the technology and the deadlines and the goals and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise, a lot of
Mhm,
distractions. And when
mhm,
we do our practice, like I said, there was no music. You come in and you just get as quiet as you can and you start trying to listen. And sometimes you don't know, but I ask my body, I'll say, or I'll tell like my shoulder, I'm listening, shoulder. I'm listening.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that just kind of came to me to like talk to my body in that
mhm.
way, because I hear people all the time, and I used to do this too, like, my stupid shoulder's just not working. And I learned like, no, we
Yep,
don't talk. No, that's not
yeah.
helpful. So now I'll tell
Mm,
my shoulder, or whatever, like my low back, okay, I'm listening. And I go really
mhm,
slow. I'm listening. I'm listening. And then it kind of soothes. I can like self soothe and see
mhm,
how far I can take it. Because
mhm.
otherwise we're like, God, let's just see where I can take it. And like the nervous system is all amped up and you're just tense and you're not really cultivating a relationship with your deeper self and your body and your nervous
Mhm,
system. So it's like a
mhm.
whole way of relating to mentally, physically. And recently I used to always kind of cringe at the word inner child for some reason. I
Mhm,
always thought it was
mhm.
just like a little corny. And lately I'm like, you're talking to your inner child. You are, I
Yeah.
mean, you would never want anyone to talk to your inner child and say, you're stupid shoulder, you're an idiot, you should have done better. You would
Right,
never do that. But some
right.
of us have been trained to be so harsh on ourselves over the years. It's like, I don't talk to myself like that.
Mhm, mhm. And then, like, I catch other people talking to themselves like that, like, "No, no, no, no.
Yeah.
No, no, no." There's a book that I'm currently, listening to on Audible, I've been listening to for a while, that I'm close to finishing, only 2 more hours of the, I don't know, like 10 or 12 hours left. The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Okay.
And he talks about it. It's like super scientific. He's like a cell biologist. Is a cellular biologist, and he starts the book by talking, like, really, it's all very technical about the cellular research and how the cells, are very intelligent, and when they band together, they're even more intelligent. But he moves on, and I'm not all the way through the book, but I know the punchline. He moves on to talk about, like, when we are talking, we're communicating with ourselves and with others. um it's not just our ears that hear us, it's our whole body. It's the whole
Mhm.
body. And so the work that I do, it's conscious mind, subconscious, unconscious mind. And when we're speaking, we're listening, and those words are going into our unconscious mind, our neurology. And so, yeah, like, to talk to ourselves in that way really does impact the way our body reacts. And
Yeah.
there's actual research behind this now.
Yeah. And I feel like learning to talk to myself in this way, my body, my mind, all of it, I think that's the greatest gift that I've gotten from yoga, is like really loving myself. And I can tell you, when I started, I did not love myself. I didn't love my body. I didn't love my voice. I didn't love the way I would interact. I was always kind of like embarrassed and just wanted to be better. And through yoga, I have learned the third Yoga Sutra, Tadadrashtu Swarupe Vastanam. When we learn to quiet our mind, direct our mind, we can be our true selves. We can dwell
Mhm.
in our true splendor. And I remember people always saying, like, just be yourself, be yourself. I'm like, what does
Mhm.
be yourself mean? All I want to do is be like that person, or be like that person, or be like
Yeah,
that person. Like, I didn't know what that meant. And
yeah.
through the journey of yoga, I have learned what it means to be myself and to
Mhm,
love myself. And it's so
mhm,
interesting because I'm perimenopausal now, and, had a little bit of weight gain happening.
mhm,
And it's so interesting because this is like the first time that I've been like, I love this body.
Mm-hmm.
And now what can we do? Instead of being like,
Mm-hmm.
ah, fat,
Mm-hmm.
it's not, it's just different now. And it's
Yeah.
so much more sweet and loving and kind. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
such a better relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just feel like so many people could benefit from yoga so that they have a better relationship with themselves and they can
Yeah.
really love themselves and love the life that they've been blessed with.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, when we love ourselves, it makes it easiest for us to love others. When we can accept ourselves and we can like we can accept ourselves and like honor the humanity in ourselves, then it helps us to be able to honor the humanity and recognize the humanity of others. And that's like the work that I do in anti-oppression work. Is like there's a lot of self-hatred in our world, self-hatred in our country, but it gets projected out onto others.
Mhm.
And so there's a huge loss of, I mean, I know I'm going down a path, but it's a huge loss of humanity that we're experiencing. And a lot of it has to do with the deeper self insecurity and self-hatred. And so when we begin to like honor our humanity, accept our humanity, then it helps us to see the humanity in others and like really begin to treat each other with a bit more of that.
Yes. Amen. Yes. I mean, my sister, she's such a wonderful person, but she'd say, I love people. I love people. And this is like years, 20 years ago. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't like people. I'm scared of people. And
Mhm.
now, because I was scared of myself,
Yeah.
I just didn't like myself. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I always want to connect with you. I mean, I have to keep my mouth shut when y'all come in the room because all I want to do is talk and connect. And I mean, we do that through the postures, but I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere I go, I love people. So
Yeah.
yeah, totally, Maisha. It's like the love extends out into the world, and it's
Mhm.
doing yoga is a service to the world, to yourself and to the world.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. Well, man, look, I could be talking to you all day
Same, same over Indian food, maybe.
over Indian food. Right, right. We're due. We're due. We are definitely due.
Yes, we
And
are.
I know, and we really are going to have this the next conversation. I mean, I think that there's so much to be talked about. And I'm teasing y'all, audience. I'm teasing you. There is a whole conversation to be had about the yoga and when we started to talk about the feeling and the inner child and how that helps us to heal our traumas. And so I want to just, I'm publicly doing it, inviting you to come back and for us to have another conversation about that, because it's really so important and it's integral to the work that I do with people around trauma. And I know that that's some of the work that you do as well. So I'm so grateful that you said yes, finally.
I can't believe it took me so long. It's my own hangups, but I'm honored that you've had me on and that you've been asking me for years. I'm sorry it took me so long, but this is
Oh,
not the last. It's the first, but not the last.
awesome, awesome, awesome. It's all good. I always say we pop when we pop, but I wasn't gonna let you get away with it. I've been around, like I've been around for 17 years, and I plan on being around for 17 more. And I was gonna keep asking you every once in a while, be like, Marsha, Marsha.
Thank you for believing in me and wanting
Yes,
to talk with me and share and
yes.
just making me get over myself a little bit. See, this is
Listen,
yoga off the
faith.
mat.
Look, faith. I have faith. And then I
Yes.
had to put the work in, and I put the work in. And then I had to keep remembering to come back. And then I got absorbed in getting one. And then I was discerning on when to ask and when to no. So
So
I
you were
achieved my
skillful.
goal. I achieved my goal.
You did it. And I achieved mine. I'm like, believe that you can do this. You can have a conversation and be recorded. And then I did the work. I remembered when I would think about it, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be recorded. No, we can do this. I said, just get absorbed with Maisha,
I'll be a conversation.
discerning. And it's been so easy. I could talk for an hour longer.
Exactly, exactly. Oh man, so awesome. So I want the audience to know where can they, like, so of course, if you're in the Atlanta area, you got to come visit us at Balance Yoga Atlanta. And then you do online classes as well, right? We do Zoom classes as well. So tell the audience where they can find you.
Okay, you can find me balanceyogaatlanta.com. I'm on Instagram, Balance Yoga Atlanta, I believe is my handle. I have a beginner series coming up. It's all should be on the website. What else do I have? I have a immersion in-depth course where I do a little bit of wellness coaching with the yoga. And so what that looks like is I have a consultation with people and they tell me, I'm having a hard time getting to bed early. I'm having a hard time with X, Y, and Z. And then we come up with a simple plan and we put in yoga and I meet with them every couple days depending on the plan, and we just see if growth can happen over a month, which it can with
It
faith
absolutely.
and vigor. So that's a new program I've been doing that I really enjoy because I can connect pretty deeply with people one-on-one over the month.
Mhm.
Or just reach out to me and let's get to know each other, and I'll steer you in the right direction. I really work with everybody individually. Every single person, I have a different plan for you, for this person, for that person, for that person. It's all individual. So it's what you need. I will do my best to meet you there.
It is true. It is true. Well, I'm so excited for this episode when it releases, and I am so grateful to you for coming on, and I appreciate the conversation that we have outside the rooms as well as inside the rooms. I just want to honor you as my friend of 17, 18 years, as my mentor of 17, 18 years, and I just, I love you.
Ah, I adore you as well. Same. Thank you for everything. I hope we have 17, 18 years times five.
That's right. That's right. Well, you all heard it. Go to balanceyogaatlanta.com. Follow Marsha on at Balance Yoga Atlanta and get to know her, get to know the platform, get to know yoga. And even if you're not in Atlanta, we do have our online classes so you can at least get started and get to know the practice that way as well. And, as always, I thank you for listening because without the podcast, without the listeners, there is no podcast. So I appreciate my listeners. And, I ask that you share this episode because this is a path that can be so beneficial to so many. So share this episode with a friend, with a family, with a colleague, and write a review and mention Marsha so they know which episode to go and listen to. And don't forget to subscribe because we are having these kind of amazing conversations every single week. So, with that, I will see you on the next episode. And until then, stay empowered.